Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday service. It's been such a deeply inspiring week, and we want to thank everyone for so many things, the beautiful music and that just was woven throughout our week, and our technical help with our video people, and all the people that came to Morning Sadhana, and of course the selfless staff at the Expanding Light who just kept making everything seem effortless, and our wonderful kitchen crew who provided wonderful meals for our family. And I was asked to mention that everyone's invited to stay for lunch. Jyotish said that she made a special roasted vegetable lasagna, and she said, and there's lots for everybody, so do stay. Our topic this week is on the importance of soul receptivity. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Chapter 1 of the Gospel of St. John states, "But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name." This passage Paramahansa Yogananda often quoted to his disciples. Be in tune, he would tell them. Delusion can't touch you if you keep in tune. A few of you will fall, he said once, but it needn't be if you would stay in tune. Of a disciple who became highly advanced, even though she didn't meditate much, he said, she got there by attunement. To one who found meditation difficult, he said, I will meditate for you as long as you stay in tune. Truth is a state of consciousness, not a well-worded definition. It is in that consciousness, above all, that our lives are transformed. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita in the 10th chapter says, to those who are ever attached to me and who worship me with love, I impart discernment by means of which they attain me. Out of my love for them, I, the divine within them, set alight in them the radiant lamp of wisdom, thereby dispelling the darkness of their ignorance. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Good morning. I'll start with a reading from the beautiful prayer poems of Master from Whispers from Eternity. This is, let me feel that thou and I are one. When the sparks of cosmic creation flew from under thy miracle of love, I danced with all the lights that heralded the coming of myriad worlds. I'm a little spark of thy joyous cosmic fire, O thou Son of Life. As thy nectar poured into the little cups of human minds, filled with molten liquids of vital sparks, they thought to contain thy golden infinity in the smallness of their human feelings. In each fragile, undulating mirror of human flesh, I see reflected thy restless dance of omnipresent power. In the lambent waters of life, I behold thee ever steady, almighty life. Teach me, Christ-like, by the power of concentration, to still the restless storms of desires raging round the lake of my mind. Stilling those waters, I lovingly behold thy unruffled face of cosmic stillness. cause the little wave of my life to subside, that thy consciousness in me spread out to become thine own vastness. Let me feel my heart throbbing in thy breast, my feet moving with thy energy, thy breath breathing through mine, thy energy actively moving my arms, thy thoughts weaving all the thoughts in my brain. When I cry, thy soft sigh within me wakens me to thy joy. In the playfulness, the bubble visions of thy creation float dancingly in the chamber of my dreams, which manifest in my sleep of delusion. Thy meteoric will comes through the skies of my own willpower. Make me feel that it is thou who art I. O make me thyself, that I may behold my little bubble of self ever floating in thee. Isn't that a beautiful prayer? This is such a beautiful and subtle topic this morning, the soul receptivity. There are several very, very interesting aspects to it that even contained in the title, the soul receptivity. We think because we're locked in ego, which is just a bundle of self-definitions, and because that ego is separate, seemingly, from all the other parts of creation, we have this sense that we do things by our own power. And because we have limited the cosmic vastness of infinity down to our own little power, our own little life force, our own little will, we think that we have to struggle and struggle and struggle in order to accomplish anything. I mean, how often do we walk around kind of thinking, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this all. I can't. I've got to work so hard. I've got to work hours and hours, and oh, poor me. I had a friend in college who, he and his wife, when they would come home from work, they had a little ritual. It was a 5-minute poor me session. Oh, poor me. This and this happened, and they were so mean to me. And then the response from the partner was, oh, poor you. Oh, poor you. Oh, poor me. And each of them got 5 minutes. I don't know whether they actually had a stopwatch or not. But as long as we stay in this kind of limited bubble of ego that's separate, we think that we have to do it all by our power. In fact, we don't do anything by our own power. Everything is done by God, by the will of God. I mean, whatever you had from breakfast this morning, you think you're digesting that food? Do you think you're assimilating it? Do you think your ego is sending that to your muscles and your brain and your nerves in order to nourish you? It's all going on automatically. God is taking care of all of that. And we're walking around saying, oh, I have to walk all the way from the car to the... We keep the doors narrow as we come in because otherwise people would drive into the dining room. And so with this sense of separation and this sense of struggling all the time, we get locked more and more in that little tiny little bubble of ego. What Master is saying, what God, what the scriptures are saying, is not that you have to struggle to find me. You don't have to do anything except relax. All you have to do is become receptive. And then God takes over. We were many years ago, 35 years ago, visiting Anandamoy Ma. Is Nalini here? Anyway, there you are, Nalini and Swami and another friend who has since passed away were visiting Anandamoy Ma. And a couple of beautiful things happened. One was that we were asking her some series of questions. And she just kept saying, oh, ask your guru. Follow your guru. Do what your guru wants. That was her answer to everything. Finally, we had a bundle of beads and malas and pictures and so on that we wanted her to bless. And so we asked her if she would, and she said, why ask this little body to bless them? Can't you see that God's blessings are always flowing down? They're always flowing down. And yet, well, she did go on to bless them. She could understand our limited human needs. But if we could only open ourselves to really that fact, that God's blessings are always flowing down. He's always doing to accomplish through us. And really, our job is not to do it. It's just to get ourselves out of the way. I was charmed some years ago, just 2 or 3 years ago, we were in India, and there was a reporter who was asking questions of Swami. And one of her questions was, do we need a guru? And we were stunned by Swami's answer. He said, no, you don't need a guru. Why do you want somebody telling you what to do all the time? You don't need a guru. Unless you want to find God. Then, of course, you need a guru. And so when we begin to want to break out of the little separation, the little bubble that we hold ourselves in, then we need a guru. Partly to instruct us, but not really to instruct us. As it said in the Bible reading, to those who received him, not his instruction, not his will, not his demands, to those who received him, to them gave he the power to become the sons of God. That's all we have to do, is receive the power of the guru. And it's kind of, I don't know, that desire to ride our own bicycle and tell everybody that we're doing it. And don't help me, Mom. I'm going to do it on my own, which is necessary for human life, but very unnecessary for divine life. The more open, the more receptive, the more we think that God is doing everything through us, the closer we get to him. There's a beautiful story that I've told some times before, but happened to the boy was only about 7 or 8 years old, and he was a disciple of Satya Sai Baba. And he had been in the ashram for many months, and so he had a weekend where he went back to his family for a visit, and then he came back, and Satya Sai Baba asked him, he said, did you have fun seeing your mother and father? And the boy said, oh, all I saw was you, Baba. And then he said, well, did you play with some of your brothers and sisters? Oh, I just played with you, Baba. And he said, well, didn't you visit any of your friends? He said, don't tease me anymore, Baba. All I saw was you. And that sense that if we can get there, that all we see, all this beauty, all this loveliness, all the joy, all the lightness and grace, everything is God. And the darkness. Why? Because, well, as it says in one of the vows, I will see this as God's dream drama and also dream entertainment. He's just doing it for our entertainment. Whoever puts on a movie to watch at night on the video screen that has no drama in it, it's just pretty pictures and beautiful music. Yeah, you do that as background stuff, but you don't do it because it doesn't engage you. So we're engaged, and as long as we want to be engaged, God creates a world that is engaging. in one sense, this whole world is just a giant wish fulfillment game, a wish fulfillment machine. And God's just fulfilling our wishes. It's we who have stupid wishes. And that's what gets us in trouble. If we would just kind of let Him instruct us and play through us, then our refinement will get better. There are a number of benefits that come as we open ourselves to God. And we do that just by relaxing and letting Him play through us. Last night we had this beautiful, beautiful concert, and David and the other musicians were playing so beautifully through their instruments. But David, because the cello was bigger and it's such a good example, he carefully tuned the cello before he played it. And the reason there are just 4 strings, and the reason that those strings have to be attuned is that there's a mathematical formula of the wavelength of that note that comes from each string. And when those strings are properly attuned to not only each other, but also in this case, Mukti played a note on the piano so that it was attuned to the piano, and then Krishnabai attuned the violin to that same note. So all of the instruments were attuned to the same note. And then when they played, there was this glorious harmony that happened. Beautiful, beautiful music. And so the Guru, if we allow him, attunes our strings, our heartstrings, our attitudes, our actions, our perceptions, attunes those so that a beautiful harmony can result. But we're a little different from a cello, which a cello doesn't have much self-awareness or self-determination. So we say, no, I'm going to tune myself. Now think of what the cello is going to sound like after a month or so of tuning itself. Is it going to produce that beautiful harmony? Is it likely that the cello is going to get more in tune by doing it itself or less in tune? Are we likely going to get more in tune or less in tune by becoming receptive to the Guru? I think we get more in tune, and I think we get less in tune the less we open ourselves. But opening ourselves, the cello does not have to tune itself. It simply has to relax and allow the power of the Guru to flow through it. There's a beautiful poster or a story, and then they make posters from it, but a story from the Ramayana of this great devotee, probably the most devoted of all of Rama, who represents God in incarnate form, probably his most devoted of all devotees, who is Hanuman, the monkey king. And at one point there's a story of Hanuman holding open his chest, and you see his heart inside. And his heart is simply an image of Rama. And so if that's really such a deep lesson there, because it's the heartstrings, it's the heart's desires that produce attunement. And if we can feel literally that our heart is becoming the image of the Guru, becoming the image of Master, then obviously our heart isn't going to take on the literal shape of it. But the desires can take on the literal shape of the consciousness of Master. And the more and more we open ourselves to that, the more his infinite power, rather than our limited power, is able to flow through us. And so as we open ourselves also to his power, there are a number of other things that happen. One is that we start to make right choices instead of wrong choices. And when we start to make right choices, as Sri Yukteswar said, if you act correctly now, everything in the future will improve. And so as we start making right decisions, we also start creating either no karma, if the decision is really right, if we recognize the fact that we aren't doing anything, that it's God and Guru doing everything through us, then we don't create any karma, because there's no post of ego for that action to come back to. Well, that isn't exactly correct. We do create karma. We just don't create personal karma. See, even an avatar, even master, creates karma. But that karma, and in his case it's always good karma, but that karma, that energy goes out and it's reflected back, but there's no point of ego for it to come back to. And so in his case, that karma, that energy goes out and it's reflected back in terms of good karma for his disciples. So not only do we make better decisions and don't create a lot of messy karma for ourselves, but attuning ourselves to the Guru, which is like trying to be a little stand-in for him, we get all that good karma coming back to us and changing our lives. And Master will literally take our karma away. I told this story at the Kriya initiation Friday night, but most of you weren't there, and it's a beautiful story to illustrate this. It happened to one of our members, Dr. Peter, had this dream one night, and he was on a beach, and at the edge of the beach was this huge mound of this sticky, hard, tarry substance. And he realized that it was his karma, and he had to deal with it. And he had a little plastic bucket and a little plastic toy shovel like kids play with. And that was his tools. And he went over and he was banging away. Finally, after a lot of effort, chipped off one tiny little chunk of this tarry substance and put it in his bucket. So he worked hard and finally got a little bucket full and went over and dumped it in the ocean. And he began to despair. How am I ever going to deal with this whole mound of stuff, with these inadequate little tools? And then he heard this kind of rumbling, roaring noise. And he went around the side, and there was Master in the back with this huge grin, smile on his face, and he was driving a skip loader. And from the back, he was carving out the whole mound. And it was just kind of a shell in the front that Peter had seen, thinking that he had to deal with it. Well, when we're in tune with the power of the Guru's grace helps us to deal with all this massive, sticky, black, tarry karma that we have, that has been created by incorrect decisions. There's a joke from, what are their names? Amos and Andy. It was an old... See, Davey's so in tune, I always ask her for the answers. Amos and Andy, who were an old radio comedy team, and Amos was the kind of the guru, and Andy was the always getting himself in trouble. And he came to Amos and he said, "I'm always getting myself in trouble. I just don't make any good decisions. Why is that?" And he says, "Well, you don't make any good decisions," Amos says. He says, "Well, how do I learn to make good decisions?" "From making bad decisions." And so we do it over and over again. Finally, we learn. Finally, We don't so much learn to make good decisions as we learn to get out of the way, because only God knows how to make good decisions. And God and Guru have come to us in order to help us make good decisions and to take away our karma. And then finally, they give us this immortal promise that is from this scripture. As many as received him, to them gave he the power to become the sons of God. Ultimately, what we're after is not good karma, not making right decisions, not even surrendering to the Guru. We're after dissolving the ego to truly become the sons of God. And all we have to do is receive the Guru's grace, receive God's grace. And it's through that soul receptivity that we become the sons of God and not the son of man.